Hey everybody, I'm here today with a review I've been kind of holding for a while. Actually, I saw a screener for this, I want to say like a month ago, so it might be a little hazy. I won't give you all the normal details of actors and some of that stuff as I normally would, but I'll definitely give you my impressions. And that is going to be of Sang Ho Yun's newest Train to Busan movie. So this is Train to Busan 2, aka Peninsula. Although there actually are three Train to Busan movies. There's Seoul Station, which is an animated feature he made. And then, of course, Train to Busan, which most everyone knows. And then this one, which is Peninsula, which I guess is considered the true live action sequel. So Train to Busan came out, I want to say, about 4 years ago now. And when it came out, it was kind of a surprise, I think, for a lot of people. And for a lot of people, it's become one of their favorite zombie movies. I definitely think it's a very solid, good zombie movie. I don't know if it's quite up to that stratosphere level, at least not yet for me. It was kind of one of those movies that came out like when, we were pretty zombied out. Walking Dead had kind of run its course, even though it's still on. A lot of other zombie stuff had come out in the last, 20 years. So it was kind of the zombie movie that no one really knew they wanted or needed, but it proved to be really awesome. And of course, it's out of South Korea. And the basic concept was that you had a bunch of characters that you meet. They're on a train as a zombie outbreak occurs, and mayhem ensues, and characters kind of all go different directions based on who they are as people and how they cope with the situation. It's a very good movie, very solid. Pretty emotional in some parts, surprisingly, funny in some parts, a lot of good stuff. So everyone has been really, well, I wouldn't say everyone, but people who like that movie are pretty excited to see what they do with the sequel, which is Peninsula. Now, once again, like I said, I'm not going to go through all the names and actors in this. Let's just kind of give them basic character ideas. So at the beginning of this movie, you have a short sequence which is essentially in the same sort of time period as Train to Busan, when everything is just kind of blowing up and chaos is ensuing and the zombie outbreak is occurring. You follow a group of people, and by the end of it, only a couple of people have survived on a ship that eventually escapes Korea, and hopefully will be, surviving the outbreak. You flash forward about 4 years, and you have those two characters that you watched survive, and some of them have lost people that mattered to them, so they are, variously scarred by the situation. One of them is a soldier by training, but currently just kind of living in Hong Kong with the other guy who survived as well. Let's call him Soldier Boy and other guy friend. And I'm sure I haven't looked at their names, sorry about that. So anyway, these two are kind of living in Hong Kong 4 years later. People who survived the zombie outbreak are kind of given like a secondary status, kind of looked down upon, or maybe with a level of suspicion, they're just kind of seen as sort of second-class citizens. And the basic concept of the movie is they get kind of contracted by some underworld people to go with another group of people into the, infected or, outbreak area of Korea to scavenge riches. And essentially it sounds like they do this, kind of a mercenary style. They'll, pay people a whole bunch of money, but they have to go in and retrieve something that has been left behind by the breakdown of society and bring it back. And they're going to get money, or they're going to get, drugs, or they're going to get gold or whatever. So they're sent in on a mission to do this. It's very specific. They're going to have this amount of time to go in there. They have to go back to another place to meet to get out. And that's the basic concept. They're going to go in there and do this. Now, the hard thing about a movie like this, and this is why it's a good movie, but it's not a great movie. It's not up to the level of Train to Busan. And this is the reasons why. Zombie outbreak movies, I think, always work better because you have a situation where you have a group of people who are encountering something they're not understanding, and they're having to figure out how to survive in an extreme situation. So you have that combination of discovery, action, and having to react kind of on the fly to a crazy situation. What Train to Busan did really well too was it kind of threw in the aspect of a train. So they're stuck on a train or stuck on this giant moving object, enclosed space. So kind of similar to traditional Night of the Living Dead zombies, where you're all stuck in a cabin and zombies are outside. Well, here you're stuck in a moving enclosed space with the zombies. So that was kind of an interesting kind of a twist on the genre. The problem with this kind of movie, and a lot of movies that do this that are after the fact, is that now the zombie outbreak is kind of a known thing. So that element of surprise to the characters and having to deal with things in the moment kind of gets lost a little bit. So I think there's a level of tension and excitement that kind of automatically goes out the window. Now, I will give this movie credit for trying to definitely do some different things with the story and to try to kind of expand it a little bit. And it doesn't go too crazy, but it does do some things that are different. And I would say I don't want to spoil it because they go in on the mission. I don't want to say exactly what happens when they go in on the mission, but the story does progress. Let's just say this is less comparable to Train to Busan, the first one, and more comparable to movies like, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, or what's another good one? Oh, Escape from New York. So it's similar to those kind of movies where you have society that's been changed by some event, and you have people kind of encountering how society has been kind of thrown into disarray based on it, and the zombies are more of a known thing. To me, that's not quite as interesting. It makes this movie a little more action-oriented, a little more societal-oriented, and a little less zombie-oriented. So the things that are lost are kind of important. It makes it, like I said, a good movie, but not a great movie. Now, a couple bad things about this movie. Right out of the gate, you have some terrible exposition. And I think it's supposed to kind of catch us up on what's going on or give us a note. But there's this news report thing that gets dropped in there, and that's really, really awkward. And it is, if I remember correctly, once again, it's been about a month, it's done in English. And there's a few characters that come in speaking English that are Western characters of one sort or another. And they all seem really awkward and unnecessary in the narrative. And I think that what's going on there is it feels to me like attempts to kind of create a connection so Western audiences will latch onto this easier. Which, this is a genre movie. It's going to get an audience. People who love it already love it. And South Korean cinema is pretty huge right now. They just won the Best Picture last year. So the fact that they need to do this is kind of, it's unnecessary, I would say. It's kind of similar to when you dropped Raymond Burr, if I remember correctly, into the American version of Godzilla, to be the commenting news reporter or whatever he was. Then I guess I could kind of get it because, Japanese cinema was not a common thing for, American audiences back then. But people have access to all kind of international cinema now and are up for it. So that was really unnecessary and distracting in this movie. And the characters are up and down on who's great and who's not. The two main characters in this are really good. There's a couple of bad characters they encounter that are excellent, and a couple that are kind of cartoonish. So it's very uneven, I would say. Not terrible. If you go and check it out, you're not going to be, angry that you checked it out. But I would say the big fans of the original Train to Busan will probably be a bit disappointed. It won't be quite up to the level of what they want. People who never came into the first one might love it. I mean, it's definitely got enough crowd-pleasing elements and action elements that I think it could be enjoyed by a pretty wide audience. I just don't think it is quite up to par from my book. Anyway, that's my take on Peninsula, aka Train to Busan 2, or vice versa. Be back soon with some more movies.